off. Good evening to you all. Welcome to our December meeting on the 16th of December 2020. We'll go through the agenda as usual. Item number 1 is to receive any apologies for absence.
Just one, Chair, from David Cox.
Kirky, lovely, thank you very much. Item number 2, reports from county and district councillors. David, over to you.
Okay, Chairman. I've had various communications across the parish with individuals over the last month or so, and I think most of them are here this evening, looking at the screen. So I'm guessing they will interrogate me about various things. But I think I shared with Alistair yesterday that I'm trying not to be too hard on my county council members of staff, because we've got a lot of them helping out with the NHS and their inoculations and stuff, and that it is beginning to affect our performance. So we'll have to bear with us a little. I was horrified. Alistair may wish to comment, but I was horrified. I finally got a quote. Well, I don't know whether it was a quote. I think it was an idea that it might cost £15,000 to fix the top of Billings Hill. Oh. And I think
Really?
I think I made the comment to the highway engineer. I think I really need to set up a business doing small improvement schemes to highways, because it struck me as being, and not only that, it was worse than that. It was 15 grand, and they might be able to do it in 2020, 22, 23. I did sort of point out that if the parish council wished to put in some money, which I think they were going to do, would that make it any quicker? But I haven't actually heard a response to that yet. But it seems like a huge amount of money. I know it's a mess, but
that is a lot of money just to take the edge off a curb.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think yes, but that's not their proposal. Their proposal, I think, was to move the verge back, to put some new curbing, and then I think to cover the grass in grasscrete, which is effectively concrete that allows grass to go in, so it would actually solve the problem for the future.
Okay.
But it still seemed like an extraordinary amount of money. But we carry on apace, really. And Chairman, you asked me about section 278 money. Yeah,
because the people were down at Holdenhurst, they were asking me about, when, they had to put some money towards this section, and they wanted to know how it was being spent.
Okay, so I mean, I think it's spent on lots of things. I mean, traffic calming, highways, and all that kind of stuff. At the discretion, well, with agreement with the developer. I think it's a. I don't think it ever gets handed over to the parish council, which I thought was your initial inference.
Yeah, I think that's what they were asking me.
Right. No, it's inevitably.
I'll forward your email on to them, and then if they want to contact you.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, well, if it's as simple as that, we will leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it is.
I do know that developers are always terribly keen for us to adopt all the roads that they create, and the amount of money they give us is never enough money to maintain them in perpetuity. Happy to take questions, Chairman.
And David, can you stick around for a little bit, because I know item number 8.
Yeah. No, that's that. I see that. That's the proposal. Well, the ask from Blackford.
Yeah. So putting Blackford aside for the time being, has anybody got any questions for David? Oh, Alistair.
Well, it's just a follow up, really. The Billings Hill one, I think we need to consider whether we would wish to pursue that. I'd given an indication that if we were to go ahead with this, we would be prepared to offer 5k towards it. But that was on the basis it was going to cost 10,000, but it seems to have gone up a bit. So we will, I hope, reach a conclusion whether to do that or not. The section 278 one, it does bother me a bit that you get development done in one area, and the county council squirrel the money away and spend it somewhere else, and that never seems quite fair.
I think that was a bit harsh. I think it's designed to alleviate the issues caused by that particular development. I can actually get you a proper chapter and verse full plan on it when we've agreed
Well, that would be good if it's to alleviate problems in Wedmore. That would be fine.
But is this the same developer? It's not the same developer who was offering you the safe, the footpath extension. No, I was going to say, because it did strike me that they wanted to build another 30 houses, which on the back of an envelope in Wedmore strikes me as being about 12 million quid, isn't it, or something?
Mm-hmm. No, this is Holdenhurst, so Cedar Blue, down opposite the village hall, which is...
Yes, I know. That's where I thought it was, yeah.
And it's being built currently.
Yeah.
The work's in hand.
Yeah. So, David, I think you've got off quite lightly there. Well done. But
oh, no. Emily wants me.
But item...
I want you.
Who?
Come on. Emily, sorry. Can I ask a quick question? David, I was just wondering if you'd heard anything about the application we've already made for the Somerset County Council Climate Emergency Fund from Sam Shaw or anyone in her team. We obviously had an initial response with lots of additional questions which we answered, but I'm just wondering if you know when they make the decision on when the grants will be decided upon, or...
My understanding is that the grant committee has met once. As you would imagine, it was quite a popular fund. So they will make it. I think you will find out before the new year on that particular, because you were well in time. Others have come in a bit of a rush late, inevitably, what tends to happen. But yours was in good order. So I'm expecting to get a result on that fairly shortly.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. That's all for David for now. Report from District Council. I'm not going to bang on. That actually hasn't been masses. We have had a couple of full council sessions and councillor drop-in sessions, which happen every week to discuss various things. And I've chaired a licensing panel, which was for a new premises license in Bridgewater, but we had to turn it down. I'm going to move on because we don't want a long one tonight. Item number 3, to record any declarations of interest. Rod, you're muted.
Yes, Chairman. I must give everybody dispensation tonight to discuss the budget and the precept because they've all got a vested interest being ratepayers in Wedmore. So I got the form filled out. Normally it's signed at the council meeting, but I signed it on your behalf, all those who are here. But it's just a legal formality which you have to go through. Okay. I have no other declarations tonight.
No. Great. Okay. Item number 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of November 2020 and the extraordinary meeting held on the 19th of November 2020 to be approved and signed.
These have been circulated, Chairman. If everybody's happy, I'll get them to you tomorrow to be signed.
Okay, dokes. No one got anything to say? Brilliant. Crack on. Item number 6, any matters arising?
Nothing at this stage.
Great. Item number 7, financial matters.
The accounts balance to the penny. Emily and Joe have both confirmed. Thank you.
Super. Good stuff. Item number 8 then, to consider a request from a resident for highway improvements at Blackford. Oh, hang on, have we? Public participation I didn't do.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. We can take it in this.
You do that now.
I've already told
George,
Jonathan and George that they got 3 minutes.
Okay, so item number 8 was to consider a request from a resident for highway improvements at Blackford, Pat Benjamin, who isn't here, but we're here to talk. Cardell and Jonathan Newton. So, yes. George, this is your moment.
Thank you. So I am George Cardell. I've lived here for 13 years. I very much feel part of the community. I've been a governor of Wedmore First School for many years, and I brought my family up here, and it feels like home. I've been writing to Mr. Huxtable and others for about 8 years about the issues of speeding in Blackford and along Poolbridge Road. And now, as I'm sure you know, a tragic fatality has occurred on Poolbridge Road a few months ago, although it's not yet known if speed was the cause of this. It does, however, go to show that how dangerous this stretch of road is, And in fact, following a meeting with Mr. Huxtable some time ago, he was kind enough to organise an example, and we found that 85th percentile of cars are speeding, and they're going up to 50 miles an hour in a 30 limit. So since 2017, there have been 7 accidents along this stretch of road, which seems like a hell of a lot to me. It's only 3 years and yet 7 accidents. So that's a couple a year, which seems too many, in addition to many other cycling accidents not recorded. And since I've lived here, there have been 2 very serious accidents right outside my driveway at Poolbridge Farm, which again, ambulances were called to. So I think there's no doubt, in my mind at least, and other residents, that it's a very dangerous stretch of road. The reality is that cars are just travelling too fast through the village. It's a long village, and Wedmore and Mark have got the single file calming measures. In fact, I see that Wedmore's actually got 2 as he coming in from the Blackford side. Of course, the one just before the wreck and the one just after the school, which is great and really does make a big difference. And of course, there's one in Mark, but for some reason, there isn't one in Blackford. And I think that people just don't realise they're coming into a 30-mile-an-hour limit when they're coming down the hill, especially as they come off that lovely curvy road from Mark. You may not be aware, but a school has recently opened in Poolbridge Business Centre, which is next door to me, adding to the traffic levels and increasing the chance of another serious accident. This is in addition to huge sexies, which is also a major concern at peak hours. So the signs entering the village are small and poor and need urgent upgrades. I shall hand over to Jonathan Newton, who will let you know what we'd like to see happen in the future to prevent more unnecessary blood loss and misery for the local community.
Thank you, George. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for the engagement we've had so far and the actions taken. A number of residents, we wrote to Nick Cowling and David back in September, and we have seen engagement and action with David coming out, speed detection devices going in, and also recommendations from Nick Cowling's team on these potential improvements that can be made. We've also engaged with Avon and Somerset Police, who have periodically done speed, not checking, but enforcement on the road. And they also acknowledge that speeding is an issue on this road and have promised to increase their activity. We had one yesterday, actually, and also increased presence with more patrol cars coming through, which does seem quite like an urban measure and something you expect in a housing estate in East London. But nevertheless, I think it emphasises the seriousness that the police see here with speeding being an issue. So following a few conversations with Nick Cowling and the traffic team, they recommended a few things. The first, and we split them into 2 phases because phase 1 would be something which seems to be relatively easy and hopefully quick to implement and has a relatively low cost. And phase 2 is maybe where we're looking for your guidance and support for something which maybe take a little bit longer and more funding. So phase 1, as George mentioned, is improving the signs. The recommendation so far is that they would have yellow backing, and these will be supported by countdown markers on the road, and also some yellow backed repeater signs throughout the village as well. So, and our understanding from the council is that those proposals have been put forward to the Wedmore Parish Council, so we're interested to hear whether that has happened and your feedback on that. And also in terms of phase 2, as George also alluded to, we're looking to replicate what we have in Wedmore and Mark, which does seem to work, where there's a village gateway or build out at either end of Blackford, indicating and ensuring that people definitely do slow down from the 60 and not use this as a way to accelerate to the M5 or wherever they're heading to. And then to support that, we think that for a period of time, permanent SIDS would be helpful to remind people of how fast they're going on the 2 straight periods, which is the period between the church and the Foss Lane, and then again from Sexy's pub to Poolbridge Business Park. And if it is recommended, advisory 20-mile-an-hour limits around the new Poolbridge school section as well. So We're interested to hear how we navigate this, and look, our understanding is that Wedmore Parish Council plays a fundamental part in gaining approval and potentially funding for this. So we're keen to hear how we can move forward with these 2 phases of corrective action.
Brilliant. Thank you both very much. Kick off a debate. Anybody want to start? Alistair, go ahead.
I suppose it's inevitable I should try and say something here. Chairing the Highways Committee, but as I am a very new member of the Parish Council, I'm still learning. But so when I took over this job 6 months ago or so, the Parish Council had a scheme not dissimilar to the phase 2 that was being suggested by Blackford after some work that had been done on the Cheddar Road. In fact, very similar situation. There is no pinch point there. The residents are very concerned about the speed. They can't get out of their drives and so on and so forth. A scheme's been put forward, as David knows. It was put forward at the beginning of the current year. And speaking to David earlier in the week, he's thinking that such a scheme might come forward. It's not yet in the programme, but he wasn't optimistic that it would be able to be done until 22-23 or even 23-24. And you say that as a bit of background to the request that's in front of us today. I have also been involved with colleagues about trying to get more speed SIDs, as we call them, speed indicator devices. And a paper hanging over from the last meeting was a suggestion about how we might take that forward. And certainly one of the locations that we were looking at before all this came up was Poolbridge Road. We also looked at the Hugh School, and that's really difficult from a speed indicator device point of view, because the speed limit changes between opening and closing of the school at 20 miles an hour. Other times of the day it's 30 miles an hour. And it was actually quite difficult to see a location where that could be. Now, that's all been overtaken by the recommendations that the highways and police have made, and it will be good to see that work happen quickly, because I think that is, having walked across that crossroad many times during the lockdown, I know how difficult it is for adults crossing the road, never mind school children. So really, in summary, I'm totally sympathetic with what Blackford are saying. I really only just urging a little caution in the fact how quickly it can happen, given our experience with the Cheddar Road scheme, which has already waited a year to even get into the programme.
Can I ask, Alistair, what would need to be true for something to happen in, say, 12 months' time?
Sorry, say that again.
What would need to be true in order for phase 2 in Blackford to be implemented within the next 12 months?
Well, I think we have to ask David that. The Parish Council is benefited from some what's called SIL money that's arisen as a result of the developments that's taken place, and is intended to address issues created by the development, and the increased traffic would be such a thing. So I've tried to say to David, you know, could we bring these things forward if we offered some money, put something on the table? And I haven't yet got an answer to whether that would make any difference at all. So I've not tried to be pessimistic. I think David needs to take the story on from there.
Over to you, David. Quickly, and then George. George, do you want to say something first?
Yeah, yes, please. But you know, it's all right. After David.
Okay.
Okay. So nice and succinct, your request, and thank you for that, because they're easy to understand. And I think if the Parish Council agree, we will do phase 1 at no cost and fairly quickly, because that is a safety issue. And I think we're happy with that. If we get the go from you, we will get on with it. As you say, it's paint and it's signs. It's relatively easy. The next bit, the phase 2, okay. So the village gateway, The village could almost do that themselves. I do have one parish not very far from us who actually are going to put in their own village gateways. We could do it, but it's bureaucratic and relatively expensive. And, you know, we did offer that particular parish. We said, well, we could do it if you gave us X. And they said, I think it's cheaper for us to do it themselves. So there is a bit of community work that you could do there. And I could give you examples of how to do that. I think Alistair has mentioned the SIDS. Again, the SIDS are fairly straightforward because the posts are already there. And the county council doesn't supply SIDS anymore. They would have to be provided by the parish council. So again, that is an issue for the parish council for decision. Again, relatively speedy, actually, rather an unfortunate term, I know, in this particular area, but relatively quickly to do that. The advisory 20-mile-an-hour sign due to school is an interesting one because the county council have made a decision to put a rolling program in place of 20-mile-an-hour outside all schools. I'm not quite sure if this particular school, which is an adjunct to the Mark school, falls into our definition of school. I mean, I know that might sound an arcane point, but
looks like a school to me.
Yeah, I know, I know, and it has a particular cohort of clients, and we're not sure. Well, I'm not sure off the top of my head whether that fits. But I do know that we are rolling out 20 miles an hour across all the schools in Somerset, which we think will complete within 3 years. So that, you know, I mean, I know there's one going into Mark very quickly. You've already got one in Wedmore. So that's something that I would need to go and do a little bit of work on. But the village gateway build out and the permanent SIDS are something that I'm sure with the right will, the parish council could get on with quite quickly.
So we don't need permission to do a build out then from highways?
We would agree a position for it.
Right.
And we're happy to give advice. We're always happy to give advice. So I can get that done quite quickly. And we do have specifications, or you will have examples. I think we even have examples on the traffic choices website of different ways of doing it. I think that would be fairly straightforward. I was a bit confused when George said that Wedmore themselves had build-outs village gateways. Do you? I can't remember. I know you have very nice signs.
Yeah, we're getting one with the development, so that's happening by the school. There's
right. Okay.
Entrance coming in.
Okay. Sorry, what I meant by that, David, was the 2 single-file traffic calmers as you're coming into Wedmore. You got one just before the wreck, and you got one just after the wreck, haven't you?
Mm. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean that I think is what we're asking for. Right. What was it that you thought we were asking for? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. This village gateway, and I thought I don't think Wedmore's got one, but you've got build outs. I get that. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, David, and we very much appreciate the help you've given us over the last few months. And I think if we can have the council's blessing to crack on with phase 1, which is just a bit of paint and a couple of signs, so I think the cost would be minimal. That will at least slow the traffic down a bit, because frankly, that's all we want.
Okay, I've got questions here. I've got hands up, so I've got Joe, and then I've got Jackie. Go ahead, Joe.
One of the projects that is on our still project list is to then put in potentially some kind of crossing. Now, I know we tried a crossing at Wedmore before we had the build outs, but we've learned lessons from that. So could we incorporate the crossing we've been asking for a long time with that build out? So that's
I think crossings are a whole different kettle of fish, aren't they, David?
Yes, and I'm not familiar with this particular. I mean, you're talking about crossing from one side of the road to the other by whose sexes, eh?
Not necessarily by whose sexes, but at some point on that road, because there is a walkway, there is a pavement that goes quite far down. It doesn't necessarily have to be the point directly opposite Redmond's Hill into Hugh Sexy's, because I don't particularly think that's the safest point. I think if you go further down, you can cross a bit further down and you can then walk up the footpath that side of the road, which takes you to the village hall, because Blackford has its own village hall, and a lot of events happen in that village hall. And every parishioner in Blackford who goes to the village hall does have to take their chances crossing that road. So it's not just for the school, it's for the whole community of Blackford to utilise.
Yes, I mean, I have to be realistic and think that it would seem unlikely that that would get support from the county council.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think a little holistically, because we're trying to put a cycle path in from Wedmore that comes out to Hugh Sexy's, and then if we had that cycle path from Wedmore to Hugh Sexy's, or into Blackford on the Hugh Sexy's side, then you can go along the road and cross over on the footpath, being safe because you've got the traffic management as well. You've got to think, you know, we've got all these lovely little projects going on, and maybe we could get a better result thinking holistically. That's
yes,
my point on all of these things that we do.
But every one of those suggestions, admirable though they are, aren't going to make a very quick solution for George and the good people of Blackford. Because I think if you're going to coordinate all that, it strikes me as a recipe for delay, frankly. But I mean, if you keep me in the loop, I'm quite happy to fight your corner on that.
Jackie?
Yeah, just thinking going further into the future about the build out, obviously we'll take advice as to where that should be, but there will obviously have to be some way of slowing the traffic down before we get to the build out. And will the speed limit therefore need to be extended further back along that road to give traffic time to slow down before they get to a build out?
I think I probably now led you down a little bit of a blind alley, because you've got two things here: a village gateway stroke build out.
Yeah.
In my view, two completely different things. They could be the same thing, but the kind of village gateway that I thought you were envisaging, which is something the parish council could get a contractor to do, is the what I would almost say is the enhanced village entrance, which has got a fence or something, which,
like
you know,
the gateways along the side of the road.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's really straightforward. Now, a build out, which is the different thing, is a bit like you've got outside Wedmore School,
Yeah.
which is a very much different situation. And you know that we didn't get universal acceptance of it when it first went in. It involves lighting, it involves signing. It is a very expensive urban solution for a village. I mean, we did it at Wedmore because it was right next to the school. You know.
Yeah, Nick Cowling mentioned it's about £10,000 to £20,000 for a build out.
It was £123,000 to build that crossing at the school, which the current developers have just removed for us.
Yeah, but a general one. I mean, I guess there may be some special circumstances there with drainage or something, but is that common? I mean, Nick had quoted 10 to 20,000 for a build out.
Well, Nick knows more about it than I do, but I do know that these they're not universally popular. But we'll park that for.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, let's put money aside. What's the process in getting something approved? If money isn't an object, what needs to be true in order to have a build out done? What needs to be true? Do we need a certain number of votes? Does it need to be a survey with residents? Is there a panel, other decision makers in this room? What needs to be done? What needs to be true to get a build out approved? If I funded it.
Well, I would have to get the highway engineers to design one for you. Okay. It's as simple as that. I mean, if the parish council wanted to have a build out, and I don't think it could be one, it might be, but I mean, you know, if you took a village like Mark, that's got quite a few in it now.
I think we'd need one at either. I think that what they're getting at is we'd like one either end, and I'm absolutely sure the parish council will support it. And if we have money that we can put towards it, I'm sure we.
So you'd rather have that than a village gateway? You physically want some concrete on the road?
I think so, because I think that's the best way to slow the traffic down.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it, Jonathan? And
yeah,
yes,
absolutely. And it's sad, David. It's sad that we need to do it, but believe me, the attitude of drivers is absolutely horrendous. I mean, my wife was a victim of a hit and run this year. Still not right. My kids are scared. Kids are scared to go out on the road. This is kids who are happy to cycle 60 miles in a day are scared to go on the road. The attitude of drivers is really, really poor. Even when you're out there with a 5-year-old kid walking on the road, waving your arms, slow down, you just get, people who don't care. I know we can't change the attitudes. We can't change the attitudes of people, but therefore all we can do is put physical things in the way.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate we have to do it. I wouldn't want to get there. I'd already be seeing the police out on the road. I mean, yesterday I had the police, outside our house. That's not what we want to be seeing. We live in the countryside, but unfortunately, it's the fact that, we've got a lot of people living in the area, a lot of people commuting through, everyone's in a rush, and people think that they can speed through this village. So it's unfortunate we have to take measures.
I will wait for a suitable note from the parish council to that effect, and I will go away and get the highway engineers to see what they think.
Okay, I've got 2 more hands up. We'll get onto this quickly. 3. Well, I've got Emily, Alistair, and Jackie. So Emily first.
I just, for a start, as a fellow Blackford resident, I wholeheartedly support this proposal, because I think that it's a real problem in Blackford. And I know it's something we've talked about before. I'm not on the Highways Committee, so I don't know the process of how this works either. I would suggest that George and Jonathan, that's kind of what they're asking tonight, is what is the process now? How do we get this in motion? And that's something that I would quite like to know as well, so that we as a parish council can put this project forward. I would also like to ask, and I don't know what the answer is to this, but and we've talked about this before, the fact that the speed limit goes from 60 to 30, and that the bit between Blackford and Wedmore is so incredibly dangerous. It just seems crazy that it goes up to that much. And is there any way of, at least reducing that to 50, and again, how do we go about changing that?
Okay, well, I can give you the answer to that. Again, that is the sort of thing that we would do in the fullness of time if requested. However, you've seen how fast people are going in the 30-mile-an-hour limit in Blackford. So if you said, as you might wish to argue, that you need to have a 50-mile-an-hour limit or a 40-mile-an-hour limit or a 30-mile-an-hour limit on that conjoining stretch between Wedmore and Mark, it's simply unenforceable unless you physically put things in the road. So again, we are in danger. I mean, the reason, if you actually took the police surveys on those SIDS that they've just recently put in Blackford, because 85% of the people, 85% of the people are doing 37 miles an hour, the police would recommend that they could enforce a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. You wouldn't have got you wouldn't get a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on that basis. I suspect if you put a traffic survey on that stretch of road between Blackford and Wedmore, you would find people would be driving typically at 50.
Well, better than driving at 60.
Yeah, well, I know, but I don't want to seem negative. I just try and always in these cases to offer practical advice and to come up with solutions that would work. So I'll go back to what I said originally. The phase 2. If you just wanted a village gateway, then I think that could be done relatively quickly by the parish council. I think the parish council has it in their powers to purchase or get a SID and put it on that bit of road. I will go away and find out what we need to do if the school, this new school, which is rented a bit of, which is an adjunct of the Mark school, they just rented a couple of offices down there. If that qualifies as a school, and would we get a 20-mile-an-hour sign there? I don't know the answer to that, but I could find out.
Okay, 2 more quick questions, and then we need to move on, I think, guys. So Alistair, and then it was Jackie. Oh, Pete's hands come up now.
Margaret's got her hand up.
Jackie, then Pete.
Well, it's only just the fact that, as a Blackford representative, I wasn't aware that the buildings at the bottom of Poolbridge Hill am I right in thinking it's secretarial and doesn't have children there?
No, there are children there. There's about 12 or 15 children, I think. It's for children who have fallen out of the state education system A lot of them are from foster homes and so forth. So it's a one-on-one or two-to-one adult to child school.
No, it's just that I wasn't aware, and I know we haven't been able to meet, blah, 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 but I wasn't aware that that was a school with that children came in and was planning, or whatever whichever umbrella it comes under, was that needed? Because it's always, as somebody's lived there for 60 years.
They had planning, yeah.
Well, it had permitted development, didn't it? So it didn't require.
The problem is that the planning application went to Mark Parish Council and not you.
Right, that's fair enough. If it went, no, it's just that I wasn't aware. And if you get questioned, which is likely to happen, you know, it's just selfishness. I just wanted to know what the answer was, whether permission had to be, you know, and was the dangers of that junction. Because if you come out of there from Blackford Moor, it's where the house end of the garden, or it's not exactly a garden, a hedge. It's an absolute nightmare if you're looking up to the right as you come out to turn left. You cannot see, particularly, and it is very, nobody's going to make special provision for tractors, but they are one of the worst things. And I drove one for 70 years. You don't get tractors with the thing in the front. All I'm saying is, it's dead opposite what is now a school.
Yes.
I just making the point, because I wasn't aware that it was a school. I do accept it totally that it's on the Mark side of the Shipple Marine, which is usually regarded as Mark as opposed to Blackford.
Okay.
I was just trying to make a point and clearing up in my own mind, probably for my own information. If I'm questioned on it, I wanted to know what, you know.
So thank you. I live exactly next door to it. My garden, my garden backs onto their playground, and it seems to me there's no doubting it is definitely a school. There's lots of kids that come out. They're very noisy, but that's fine because that's what they want to do. They want to come outside and play. It's got teaching. I don't know how much more a school it could be. It's definitely a school. They've got classrooms. They've got teachers. They've got kids.
I think there might be some issue of whether it's a private school or a school that we support. It's as simple as that.
So I had Alistair very quickly, and then I think it was Jackie, and then we're gonna.
Can I just do a 1 minute roundup at the end, Polly, please? Sorry, Chairman.
Oh, if you have to.
I was going to make a suggestion that the phase one is very easy to say that we support it, and to get it done as quickly as possible, avoid adding things to it could cause delay, but at the same time looking at the location of the days to put those forward as well, and then start thinking about the other things which will take longer, as we've already found out with Cheddar Road.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I think we need to crack on with the first bit, definitely, and but we are very much in support of this, guys, and very pleased you came to talk to us. Jackie, and then George.
Just very quickly, all the work that was done on the Cheddar Road, we had full report that was done that was then approved by Avon and Somerset Police before it was sent off to the council. Are we going to have to do the same exercise with regard to Blackford Road? Because that was quite time consuming.
Well, it certainly was, and you were fortunate at that stage to have somebody who was capable of producing it themselves. In fact, it saved the traffic engineer having to do the scheme. But that scheme, as Alistair has rightly said, has not yet been submitted into the small improvement scheme works, which I was expecting a new window of these schemes to open in October, November time. That has been delayed, and I'm still expecting it to be early in the new year. But you know, when Alistair rather correctly predicted, sort of how long it takes to do even the smallest highway schemes, it is not quick, and I'm always very frustrated at the speed at which it moves.
Well, this is what I have to explain to people all the time who think things happen overnight, is that it doesn't happen like that in local authorities. Things don't just happen like that. Anyway, George, would you like to quickly sum up, and we're going to crack on?
I shall. Thank you very much, and thank you. It seems that we have unanimous support from all those on the call, so thank you very much, and that's much appreciated. So very much welcome phase one. I think there's no doubt that the extra traffic coming through the village is being caused by the developments going on, because it's got a lot busier very recently. If the issue is over cost on building out phase two of what we want, then let's understand how much that cost is. So we'll carry on with David on that, and we might be able to raise the funds ourselves. So if we can skip the queue by putting our hands in our pockets, then we'll do that. Because as Justin Ash asked the other day, what price does Somerset Council put on somebody's life? And having just had that very tragic accident at the top of the road, it just is very, very topical. And then my last point, Mrs. Chairman, is please can we not let this fall off the agenda? Be really useful talking about it today, but please, we'll come back and talk again if needed. We'd love to come and present again if we can and if we need to, but let's just keep it on the agenda, please.
I'm still Mrs. Chairman. I haven't had a second.
I did correct myself, Mrs. Chairman.
And Jonathan and George, just before you go, we do have a vacancy on the Parish Council for Blackford. So either of you are interested in joining our lovely team, we'd be very welcome. You'd be very welcome to join us.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Good to see you.
Good. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll leave you to it as
Merry
well.
Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, where have we got to? Item number 9, minutes of the meeting of the Financial and General Purposes Committee held on Wednesday, the 2nd of December 2020, to note and agree the budget and to precept proposals for the year 21-22 and accept the minutes.
Chair, I have circulated the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting together with the proposed budget. It didn't seem appropriate to raise the precept this year, which would be very, very good for the ratepayers of Wedmore. And I need somebody to sort of propose that the budget is accepted and the precept remains the same.
I propose that we accept the budget and they keep the precept the same as it was last year.
Lovely. Have we got a seconder? Alistair, lovely. Sue proposed. Alistair, all those in favour? Show of hands. Yeah.
That looks like a majority. I've got to just check, sorry. It's quite important.
Those in favour?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Any against? Any abstentions? Sean, you're not doing anything?
No, all right, to the crossword.
Thank you very much. Item number 10, to consider how best to advertise planning applications.
Sue, I think.
Public in current times. Sue.
Right. Well, this all came about by having a letter from the Isle of Wedmore Society. Brenda Squires sent us a letter, and if you remember, anybody who was on the planning, Keith Bulnoir joined us from the Isle of Wedmore Society at our planning meeting on Zoom, and he was very happy about us asking him to observe, because after the meeting he sent an email saying that basically the way we're thinking about planning in the village is exactly the same as the Isle of Wedmore Society. But the one thing that they did worry about was that is to inform people of planning issues who are not on the internet. Now, this is a bit tricky, really, and the only thing that I can suggest is that I'm quite happy to write a monthly planning update to go into the Wedmore News of the recent planning applications and our decisions. I don't know whether that will be enough. If it is, then I'll happily do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't you think that Isle of Wedmore News is basically, at the end of it, is 2 months in
I know.
arrears? That is a problem.
I know it is.
And we've got a date. That is the biggest, well, to me, it's the biggest problem. That something can, it's not the Isle of Wedmore News, it's the printing of it and all the rest of it. But it is, really, it can be up to 40 days behind the times, as it were.
Yep.
Any other suggestions from anyone? Rod?
Chairman, our only obligation to the Parish Council is we have to advertise the applications as they come in. At the moment, we're doing this on our website. Every time I get an application, I send it around to the committee. Normally it's a meeting, but at the moment we can't have meetings, but I put it on the website. I can't see how we can do any more than that, really. I'm at a loss.
On notice boards?
Can't hear you, Rod.
Yeah, but understand they're coming in every 3 days. I can't keep running down the notice board and putting another one up. It's just impractical. And we got 5 notice boards. It's not just the one in Wedmore by the bridge. We got Mudgley, Blackford, Thiel, and it goes on.
Yeah, and they do trickle in. So you can't just, like you say, it's every 3 days, go and pop another one on the board.
Absolutely.
If they're on I don't know.
All we have to do, all we are legally obliged to do is advertise it.
Okay.
Which we're doing.
I've got Judy and then I've got Joe.
Okay.
Could we not perhaps, if it's a major planning application, like any of the 3 really huge ones that are going on at the moment, which really do affect folk, maybe we could then put a notice in the notice boards. But I mean, to be quite honest, when it's somebody's extension or, quite a small matter, I don't see that. It seems a logistical nightmare to have to advertise that. I mean, it is on the website if people care to go and have a look, and you do get written to by the planners if it's going to directly affect you.
I think that's what they were basically getting at, wasn't it? It was major applications. I don't think they wanted to know about someone's.
Well, then perhaps we should on a major application put something printed up on the notice board, but not for everything.
No, Joe.
I remember reading about them back in the day in things like the Wells Journal or the Cheddar Valley Gazette.
Oh, but that's down to Sedgemoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still go in the Cheddar Valley Gazette, but then only the ones that have been, whether they've been passed or not. Glenys?
Well, previously, we've decided on a date for a planning meeting, and Rod has advertised the list of applications we're going to discuss and put it on the notice board. And then we have discussed them at a meeting. Well, could we not do that and we go back to that? But the planning meeting will be on Zoom and they can join it if they wish. And if you have a major planning application, as we have, those could be advertised in a different way, publicise it in the newspapers.
Yeah,
but perhaps we need to go back.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty on to Zoom now. It's just, people have got to do their research. Whoever's on the planning committee have got to look at the plans and know what they're talking about.
I think the issue is people who haven't got internet access.
Yeah, I think that's what.
So they can't do Zoom. So.
And then, that's quite tricky. So yes, we can put them on the notice board, but then we can't show them the plans. They still have to go onto the Sedgemoor portal to look at the plans. So. I think
it's a no-winner for us, really.
It is a bit, really. So, but I think now that Keith's sat in one of our meetings, I think he's quite happy. I just don't know whether they were thinking we were doing, as usual, untoward things, which we weren't, and that, we weren't fighting. I think Keith did get a good response from both Sue and I, because he'd heard rumours and he wanted to come straight to us and find out what we really thought. And once we told him what we were doing and how we were.
And he joined, he joined the meeting.
Okay, it was really good to talk to you. Thanks for telling me. So I think it's been someone's stirring it up.
Is there a decision we can have?
Well, I guess yes. Major applications.
Yeah.
major applications will go out on the notice boards.
Yeah.
And then we will resume Zoom meetings.
As and when.
As and when, and the committee members must look at the plan so that they know what they're talking about. Yeah. And any members of the public are welcome to join.
Thank you.
So
yeah, just to say that we'll have the planning, not obviously this one, we've got 4 plans coming up before Christmas, but I think after Christmas we should hold them over and put them onto a Zoom meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, agree completely.
Okay.
Good stuff. Well done.
All right.
Thank you, Sue. Item number 11, speed awareness campaign update. Alistair?
Okay, I circulated a paper the last meeting, which we didn't get to for various technical problems. Basically, David Curley and I and John Woodford are taking this forward. We've been a bit, well, I've personally been a bit stuck with other things recently, but the proposal is that we set up, we need to get approval from county for a number of locations where we would put one of these SID devices. We need to get them approved, and we have to say which lamp post or which road sign post we're going to use. In some cases there aren't those available, and we'll have to get county to get one installed, a post installed ourselves. So the ones that we've looked at are the ones that the council has previously looked at, which was never sure if it's 5 or 6, but there's 2 in the Cheddar Road which have been used by my predecessor in this: Fullbridge Road, Pilcon Street, Eel and Latcham. Those are the ones that have already been considered, and we agree that those should be taken forward. In addition to that, there's 3 new locations: Rug Hill, Grants Lane and Mudgley Road. And so that's the plan that we're going to take forward to the county to get their approval for those locations. What we're going to do next is, well, obviously once we've got approval, we will then be in a position to use the SIDs. Now, we have one at the moment, which was used previously, and it seems to me that us new chaps that are doing this will need to get some experience by mounting it up and on one of the Cheddar Road signs where there are brackets available, because we just need to get to know how to use the equipment, to recharge the batteries, and to download the data and make some sense of it. Once we've done that, then we can start thinking about moving it to other locations. In addition, the proposal is that we would obtain at least one other SID, which may be a much simpler device, which just gives a speed indication without having to record every car, number plate and so on. But that's something I think we need to discuss with county, exactly the specification we go for. And then I think once we've got to that point, we would need a small team of people. If we're going to rotate these around these various locations, we need to ensure that there were people who were able to do that. And at that time, there have been 1 or 2 volunteers come forward, which have not taken up so far, because actually there's nothing for them to do at the moment, but we can certainly do that into the future. The one thing I do find interesting is that everybody thinks these SIDs should be in place permanently, whereas all the technical advice I've ever read about this in researching it seems to suggest that after a week things returned to normal, unless you move them and then bring them back later, creating the impression that you're now potentially could get a speeding fine. So we will have to gauge how that works once we've got the system up and running. So that's a progress report. Jan.
Okay. Super. I had 2 hands. I had Sue and then I had Jackie.
Yeah, there was no mention of a site in Thiel.
Yes.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
Didn't hear that.
Yes, there was. I heard him say it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue.
I didn't hear mention of one in Blackford.
Yeah.
So I missed that bit then.
Cambridge Road, there was Mudgley Road, Latcham, Thiel. Yeah.
Yes. I think the point about, as I mentioned earlier, we did think about one by the Hugh Sexton School, but as I said earlier, it is quite difficult to do it there for the reasons that the speed limit changes during the time of day and the term time. But as the police and other county people have been looking at it, willing to follow their advice on what's best to be done at that location.
Okay, Sean?
Just in relation to Thiel, we have a church and the village hall and a playground all along a 50-metre stretch. We could really do with one there because they come over the top of the hill, plus there's traffic coming out of Snake Lane. I've probably said this before, but they don't slow down. And one thing that wasn't teased out about the traffic in Blackford, it is actually quite a significant sat-nav route from the M5 through Wells and all the way to join the A36. So there's a lot of people who come along that road are very unfamiliar with Blackford, Wedmore and Thiel, and just go bombing through it because they might only do it a few times. There's a lot of increase in traffic due to sat-nav. It's a preferred route on a lot of sat-nav. So
I think the Snake Lane area was definitely remembered. That's why, you know, where it was going to go, but nobody wants to be missed out. We want to slow this down throughout the whole parish. So we are on it. Did I miss anyone? No. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Alistair.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to slowing our traffic down. Item number 12, footpaths repair team. Alistair and Sean. Sean, do you want to go first?
Okay. I was waiting for that the lovely explanation that Alistair had in the past about witnessing repair teams. Was it in Surrey or Sussex? Sussex, and how effective they were. I did send out a document called the Paths of Wedmore Proposed Restoration Strategy 2020 to 2024. I only read a little bit. The vision was to identify, reopen, improve and promote all footpaths and bridleways in the Isle of Wedmore Parish for the safe passage and enjoyment of all residents and visitors with the involvement of the Parish Council, the Rights of Way team at Somerset County Council, and of course volunteers who would all be members of the Ramblers Association, which is quite important. And there's various goals to achieve in 2020, right up to 2024. And some of the major ones are, some of them already happened. Hopefully everybody's requested or put up an A3 definitive map on the 5 or more signs around the parish. And obviously when COVID's gone, more in notice boards, pubs, schools and community centres. 2021, we hope to form a proper Wedmore Ramblers Association. I asked Sedgemoor if they could help, but they said that all they do is put up signs. They don't do any other repairs, and they've got enough to do in their area, and they don't come to Wedmore much at all. I have invited Mend It Ramblers, who are a team of 18. They have a trailer and a really slick operation, and they said they would come next year, COVID exempting, to actually work with some of our volunteers who have identified 16 people so far who want to get involved in some way or other in repairing paths in Wedmore. And the promotion would be a view of Wedmore Paths photographic exhibition, and links to settlements, which I think was one of the lofty aspirations of Somerset County Council, to look at linking settlements. And by 2023-24, we would hope to have what we call walking highways, which would be 5 or 6 points of the compass to come into Wedmore, where, how can I put it, people would not need to get their leg over at once, but would be able to kiss regularly.
Okay.
In other words, no stiles and all kissing gates. Now, the other agencies involved in this are Somerset County Council, who provide a certain amount of training. We'd have to pay for more beyond the first person. They provide all kissing gates free. They provide support and all liaison before and after with landowners. The Ramblers provide all insurance for liability and accidents. The volunteers are providing their own gear and mileage and subscriptions to the Ramblers. The landowners hopefully will be encouraged to install, not just say, well, we've got loads of teams that can do it, and because they have an obligation and we need to engage with them more. And more heritage paths, which Joe has mentioned, and a new book, I guess. Hopefully we can get sponsorship, and Isle of Wedmore News provide promotion for free anyway, plus the websites. And this strategy now will enable us to be well prepared for 2026, when the government are trying to introduce a new law. I'm not quite sure how, that paths that are identified will remain open, paths that have not been used for a long time or are falling into dispute will not go on a new map in 2026. So we should have the whole of Wedmore covered if we have a strategy now for the next 5 years.
Lovely. Thank you. Alistair?
Yeah, I've supported Sean's proposal here on the basis that two of the places I lived in, West Sussex, one of them had a very active group, as Sean has described, who went out and maintained, cut back, blocked footpaths, repaired stiles and so on. And in the other place, encouraging tourists to wander away from the village into the rural areas by having nice little booklets which would be available at various places, which people can pick up and be interested in following a particular route to see particular things that are evident on the way. So now the difficulty I think Sean and I have both had is how do you put that down as a costed scheme to get approval to do things? And so we've talked about that at some length, because there will need to be some equipment, there will need to be some training, and it could go on for some considerable time. There was the question of clearing this footpath that there was a request made, and it seemed to me that would be a good place to start, so that do what the executors expect us to do, which is to clear that path, and in doing that acquire some equipment, get some training done and so on. When that job is finished, then I think we would be in a better position to put together a request for SIL funding, as this is part of the greater population of Wedmore wanting to get out into the rural environment. I don't know quite how much would be involved. I don't think it'll be a huge amount of money, but I do feel that we need to give Sean that incentive that we will be behind him going forward over the years that he's talked about.
Okay, I've got Joe's hand up, then Sean, and then I say something too. Go, Joe.
Okay, just going back a few paces. Sean, the maps, the definitive maps to go up on, I've never received one. If you sent me one by email to print out, I do not have A3 printer capabilities at home, nor laminating. So I haven't had those.
Well, you did have
put it up outside my house on the notice board.
You can have as many as you like, because the Parish Council paid for them to go up everywhere.
Right, and then I've had parish councillors ringing me about some things in the Isle of Wedmore News. I think it's more to do with the wording than anything else, but the way you've sort of said things will be changed to steel kissing gates. I've had some farming parishioners contact me regarding how these are unsuitable gates if they have sheep in their fields, and the way that the dogs are able to get through those kissing gates if people do not keep them on their lead. The countryside is owned. It isn't free for all. It is owned by landowners. They would like to feel that it was a bit more collaborative than what's been written in the book. They're not saying they're anti. They just want to feel a little bit more involved. We had a whole discussion last time about collaboration with Pilcorn Street. So obviously we want to start off on the right foot with this one and make sure that we're collaborating. In terms of the heritage booklet, and the booklet, obviously Alistair's referring to a booklet from where he came from before, we were going to put a grant application in for that. And as I mentioned 2 meetings ago, I ran out of time. I didn't possibly could do that. And we asked for your help to help do that application. And nobody was forthcoming in helping to do that. So I've not been able to take that grant forward to get the money to put that book in place. The idea is still there, but we would have to take that now out of parish funds and put a proper project together to do that work.
Dawn?
Take your points, Joe. In terms of, did you say that parish councillors or parishioners had taken...
Parishioners.
No, you said councillors, but you mean parishioners.
No, I said parishioners.
Okay, well, we can listen to the recording, Joe. But okay, but the point is the Somerset County Council will not provide any stiles anymore unless it's on the top of the Mendits in an area of outstanding natural beauty. They are providing only kissing gates, galvanised, and I just take my lead from them. The reasons why they're not putting in any stiles is because what happens is they dry out in the summer and they get loose. They arrive and it's rained and they work perfectly. So, and the new chemical curing of the wood means that they rot in 5 years because they don't use arsenic anymore. So that wording was not just me. That wording came from Martin Cooper. And in fact, I emailed him about that and he said, yeah, that's about it. That's about right. So I'm only going by any advice I get from Martin Cooper. I'm not taking any unilateral decisions whatsoever. The strategy document is down to us as to where we want to prioritise footpaths. Okay. We can't do them all at the same time, and the county council have no labour at all. It used to be £9,000 a year.
It's nothing.
They don't have anything anymore. So hopefully, funding from the parish council, which I agree with what Polly said a year ago. It's not our responsibility. We liaise with them, but they said it will. 27-year waiting list means it will never happen in Wedmore. So I'm only working through Somerset County Council.
Okay. Nothing. And I think, you know, and of course, when we try and do something and improve things, you know, we'll have to liaise with the landowners. We can't just, you know, go on in there and do what we want, or else
they get in contact with the landowners before any work start, and they sign it off as well.
Absolutely. Good. And my only question, looking at the report and stuff, was equipment and things like that, and the hire of your trailer, Sean. I was a bit disappointed because I just think, depending on what equipment you're talking about, but I think most people will have secateurs and spades and stuff like that, and I would rather hope someone might donate their trailer to a good village cause rather than charging us for it. So
well, I'm only working on the model of the Ramblers and the Mendits.
Okay.
I mean, it's certainly not something we would I mean, it might, after a year, people might just say it's too much hard work. So
yeah, we start somewhere.
It's specialist equipment. After working with Mendit, you can't use an ordinary hammer. You can't use an ordinary spade. They're trenching spades. They are specialist, robust tools. And I mean, I've done the research on the costings for that after visiting Mendit. But I mean, the costs, if you want to know the costs, the capital costs for a full set of equipment is about £700.
Okay.
That's
all right. I don't need to know it now.
Well, you don't need to know it now, but maybe somebody else does. There's consumables. There's.
Well, we can put it out an email. Could you do that? Could you forward it all to Rod and he'll send it to all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That would be great. But thank you guys for your work, and of course, you know, any improvements we can make in the future will be really great. Right, we're going to move on now to item number 13, to consider paying for tree pollarding work at the Lurburn. This came about after we'd had some complaints, didn't we, Joe? So, Rod, go ahead.
Well, we did, Chair, and you and I got involved with this. We've had some quotes, 2 quotes in, £80 differences, Stuart Danning and John Wayway. Stuart Danning was very helpful last week, I think, as you said, to at the Worthington Woods project, where tree planting was. it's £80 difference. I would suggest we ask Stuart to get on and do the pollarding down there. Although it's not officially, it's not a Parish Council responsibility.
It's not.
But
It's not. It's. I think it'll be Somerset County Council because it's a footpath. But however, we do know how long it will probably take them to get around.
I think David's disappeared, so we can't.
So we're kind of taken the executive decision that we are going to get these trees pollarded because they are big willows that are overhanging a lot of the gardens in Worthington Close, and they are going to split. So we are going to get them pollarded. That's just a, good old Parish Council doing something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So, Jackie.
So what is the actual cost? No, you're saying there's £80 difference.
I think it's 1600, something like that.
Yeah. So that's pollarding all the willows down there and wood chipping it and sorting it out. So we've had 2 quotes, £80 difference.
Okay.
Item number 14, issues and questions raised by councillors. Obviously there won't be any, but
not too many, I hope. It's Christmas.
I'll just go through quickly as my supper's burning. Sue, any questions, anything?
No.
Isabel? No. Emily?
Thank you.
No. Nandin?
Yeah, just one thing, that there is a group who would like to start up a Good Neighbours scheme, which sort of runs parallel or probably would take over in a way. I don't want to get sort of NGOs or people involved in this really, but they would like to sort of follow on really from the WPC COVID-19 sort of concept of trying to get the community together to help each other, knocking on doors, getting to know people who might need help, and then possibly developing that into some sort of scheme where it would be possible to collect shopping and prescriptions for people who are isolated, and then also possibly help people travel, get people travelling to and from, say, hospitals and whatever. But I think it's something that we should support really. It's in its infancy at the moment, but I think that they would very much appreciate a sort of a pat on the back from the Parish Council, and then perhaps we could... well,
it might be worth them coming to talk to us at the next meeting or something.
Well, indeed.
I have talked to Johnny Torrance Spence at length about it, so... yeah, I'm aware what they want to do, and I also think our team of COVID helpers has been really good. So it's quite nice what we've been doing anyway. So yeah, David, Curly, no. Oh, he's frozen. So I'll take that as a no.
David Curly.
Are you back with us, David? You got anything to say? No, that's a no. Alistair. Brilliant. Babs? No. Sean?
The Feel Link has been resuscitated after 7 years. So it's now going to be going out once a quarter to 200 houses in Thiel.
Okay.
Excellent. Well done.
Cool. Jackie? Judy? Joe? Oh, that's great. Glenys?
Well, I have to say that the junction, and I know we talked about it earlier, but near Wedmore School, coming out onto the Blackford Road, that junction from going beyond Porch House, that shrub is just getting bigger.
Yes.
Keep an eye on it.
Well, she won't do much about it, and Highway seem to think it's okay. So I gave Alex Whittingham got in touch with me this morning about it again, and I just said, get hold of David Huxtable. He's the man to talk to. Highways is not our issue.
No, I think we just need to mention it again to David Huxtable ourselves, because it is dangerous, very dangerous.
Rod, could you prod him? Thank you. Pete, any issues? No?
No, said my bit before.
Excellent. Okay, so we will now move on to correspondence, item 15.
2047, meeting finished.
What? No, I've just done correspondence.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I know you want to finish, but we've got a little bit more to do.
Sorry, Tom.
Correspondence. There's some correspondence.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there's some correspondence. Brilliant. I think
No, all the correspondence been circulated. Sorry.
Super, don't worry. Item number 16, committee report, cemetery.
Yeah, it's looking fine out there. I've been out this week, and it's good. I think they'll need to keep an eye on the paths. We've been taking the moss off them, and I think they could be getting a bit slippery soon. But we'll keep checking. But we're all right at the moment.
Well done. Thank you very much. Facilities allotments and footpaths.
No, Chairman.
Well, Judy's speaking, but I can't hear her.
Right, sorry. The letters have gone out for the rents. We also have sent out letters saying that there will be giving notice of a rent increase, which will not be for a year, but we have to give a year's notice. I don't think it will be substantial, but I mean, I don't think we've had a rent increase since, certainly since I've been on the Parish Council, so that's 5 years. So I think we're due a little one. And in view of the water bill this year, I think we need to do, I was also asked by somebody who's got an allotment up there, what we were doing about the wish list that they were asked for by the previous chairman. And I said, well, things were still being discussed, in particular the borehole, which we haven't talked about for quite some time, but I think it's still somewhere in the agenda.
Maybe we'll put it on for January.
Yeah, okay, and we have definitely one allotment free now, and another one will come free. We're just keeping it vacant at the moment so that somebody can move some rubbish behind it. I think that's about it.
Brilliant, thank you, Judy. Finance and general purposes. Well, we had a meeting and we've all just agreed everything, so that's great. Housing. All I can say. I'll just say one quick thing on the housing as an affordable housing. I know that Wilcox family have finally picked their keys up for their house.
Moved in.
Farm. So they've moved in. So that's great.
Yeah, they moved in.
Highways, car park and brook.
A meeting next month, I think, is the best I can say.
Super. Thank you. Planning.
No, everything's fine.
Groovy. Thank you very much, Sue. Footpaths and green issues. Go on then.
Just a couple of salient points from the minutes from the Green Wedmore meeting in December. Wedmore in Bloom has decided to completely switch from peat-based compost. They're not doing that anymore. Steve has been speaking to Wedmore Village Hall, who are really very excited about completely changing their car park so that any drainage water can get stored into retention ponds where wildlife can actually thrive, rather than it sort of disappearing down the road. And if it is successful, and as the Village Hall was so keen on it, it could be the first in the country where this particular design to retain wildlife in water that's normally just lost will be the first in the country, which would be quite exciting. And thanks to Wedmore Village Hall for being so keen on it. There is a list or a set of points which Green Wedmore are trying to find ways for future developers to be most effective in putting in renewables in. What the problem is, people say, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? They are not obliged to, so it makes people look really silly when actually that they don't have to. So what is best achievable in a points-based thing is being written by a few in the Green Wedmore group. That's it.
Super. Thank you very much. Reports from representatives on committees. Isle of Wedmore News.
Yes, it's gone out, but it's been quite challenging. I think there was one day about 10 days ago when I was looking at 400 copies of the Isle of Wedmore News, and I had nobody to deliver them because we had about 3 or 4 of the distributors were self-isolating. So I nearly called on Sean and Nandin to do the entire area of Thiel, but we sorted it out anyway, and they all got delivered. But if you know, if you don't get a copy or if you are asked about it, it's probably because your distributor is self-isolating and we're looking for people.
Oh, look, Sean's got his hand up. He must be volunteering.
Well, only because the Thiel link, we have 9 sub-posties for the Thiel ward, all of who do no more than about 30 houses. So if you ever get into difficulty at Glen, it's just get in contact with me, Nandin or Jackie, and Jackie can do them all.
No, you put your hand up first.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jackie. I was joking.
Thank you very much, Glenys.
Yeah, thank you.
Play areas, yes, I can report that we've had some revised quotes for works on all the play areas, and we've all agreed that we're going to crack on with it because we've got a bit of money. And Rod?
Just to say that I've closed down a savings account for Blackford play area, and we now have £1,400 in our kitty, which I'll transfer to them when they sort their accounts out.
Super duper, that's lovely. But we're all looking at that. Salk?
No, nothing.
Wedmore Plainfields Management Committee?
Yeah, there's a meeting on the 11th of January, so that'll be the first one that Babs and I will attend. We did have a small clear the air meeting with them a couple of weeks ago.
Great. Good, that's very good news. Village halls?
No.
No. Sean, Alistair?
Well, yeah, the Wedmore Village Hall Committee met and had its AGM at the beginning of December. We've been pleased that a new secretary and a new booking secretary have been appointed, which David knows all about. And the hall is looking good with the ventilation now fully installed. We are getting bookings, but obviously on a very limited, restricted basis. But obviously, when things get a bit better, we would be looking to get back to normal. Otherwise, things are going quite well.
Super. Sean?
Field Village Hall committee met last night. The good news is that there seems to be a strong verbal agreement from the diocese that they will extend the lease, but they're having difficulties getting around to doing the paperwork. It won't be done until next year. To extend it by another 60 years. They have no objection to what we were saying. I'm glad to see that Wedmore Village Hall is looking so great, Alistair. Ours being empty for quite a long time is beginning to turn into, I don't know, something other than a village hall with fungus growing and stuff like that. So we do have urgent problems with kitchens, which are now probably not really safe. But we have a plan which we're working on at the moment to try and make it safe and more attractive. And meeting with lots of locals who want to actually have a youth club, who want to have a pop-up restaurant, and we intend to have the Green Man once every month.
Great. Oh, very encouraging. Lovely. Twinning, Judy? No, guess there's no twinning. Brilliant. Item number 17, matters of report and items for the next meeting. You still with us, Rod?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, well, that'll be the end of that. Thank you all very much for attending. It's been an interesting year. You can stop recording now, Rod. 1 minute.
Where's he gone?
Where's he gone? He's just gone. Still recording.
He's still recording. He just disappeared.
It's not recording, Rod. Sorry. Still says it's recording. What's he doing? Where's he gone? Okay, well, I'm just going to carry on. It's been a bit of a weird year. It's been quite hard work, but I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thank you all for coping with Zoom.
Same to you.
It's been atrocious, but it's you've done really well, and I'm very proud of you all. And so I hope you all got your little present as a token of my appreciation.
Thank you.
And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a much better 2021. And I'll see you all over out and about, no doubt. Lots of love. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.